Okay, you ready?
I should be ready whenever.
We have three waiting, so that should be good. Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. Casey Porter here alongside Austin Brubaker as we do each and every Wednesday. Boy, it has been a hectic week. Some great action on the farm. One of those periods where, hey, it's been over 100 degrees in Oklahoma forever now. So, Tulsa's in that dog days of summer. Cool for Oklahoma City if they're actually on the West Coast, getting to avoid some of this heat. The Dodgers have been absolutely smoking hot. So, hey, a lot of action, a lot of great action in the system. Not really, any specific topics tonight. We've hit on most of them as of late. More of just kind of an open mic session tonight. Hopefully we have a good crowd. Hey, Michael, how are you? Hopefully have a good crowd and answer a lot of questions. Have a lot of back and forth between our audience tonight and just kind of have an open mic.
Yeah, no, tonight should be a really fun night, a night for the audience to be able to participate and kind of guide the show tonight. Obviously, we've seen with the big league club, they are absolutely on fire, which is exactly what you want to see. You want to see the big league club be successful. We've also seen a lot of success down at the minors, a lot of really good individual performances, a lot of growth from the minors. And so with the audience that we have, we're happy to answer any sort of question. I know both you and I pay very close attention to everything that happens within the system. I was in Lansing yesterday. We'll be there tomorrow. Should be there Saturday and Sunday probably as well too. So happy to talk some more Dodgers baseball in the system.
I love that hat, man. Is that a new hat?
No, this is their road hat. This is one of the hats that I've had
Nice.
for quite a while right now. So got the Loons road hat and then the Loons sweater on as well too. So gotta rock the good old Great Lakes Loons merch.
No doubt. Good evening, Michael. Thank you so much for joining. Good evening, Craig. Thank you for all of your wonderful comments on all the videos we leave. By the way, Austin, I wanted to say this in front of the crowd. What an incredible addition you have been to Dodgers Daily. Your knowledge of just the Dodger system, Major League Baseball, the data, your ability to, I know you love the data and the analysis. You're kind of new age that way, but to also make it make sense to guys like me who don't understand all that kind of stuff. What a tremendous addition you have been to Dodgers Daily. I wanted to say this in front of the crowd. I'm so pumped that you decided to come on here, and so thank you so much for being a part of this team.
Well, I really appreciate that, Casey. I really do enjoy doing this. I love talking about Dodgers, being able to interact with a lot of people. That's why I go to so many of these games, is just be able to not only watch, but be able to interact with a lot of different people too, from some of the bus drivers to just some of the fans that they have right there. So I absolutely love doing this and love being a part of Dodgers Daily.
Yeah, no doubt about it, and we love having you here. Good evening, Craig. Thank you so much for your wonderful comments. Ela Shiva, can't wait to hear your comments. Thank you for joining. Michael, I actually did not get a chance to see Yunsek Yang's official scouting evaluation. I have not gotten to see that. Austin, have you seen it?
I have not gotten a chance to see that. I haven't taken a look at any of the film from him, which is kind of what I like to do with some of these guys, just be able to watch a lot of it. But what can I say? There's a ton of excitement with this kid.
Yeah, I have not seen him pitch with my own eyes. I really know very little about him. And so I apologize, Michael, but I am not prepared to talk about him tonight. And I promise you I will be by this time next week. So, hey, whenever we get into our Dodgers Dogs show next week live, I promise you if you have a question about him, Austin and I both will know all about him. So thank you very much for that comment. I will research his evaluation. I'll research his ranking. I will watch him with my own eyes on video. So, hey, some of your overall thoughts. Let's start with Bobby Miller last night.
Yeah, what can you say about Bobby Miller? Just absolutely dominant would some of the phrase that I would use for how he pitched yesterday and what he showed, being able to go through 6 innings, only 70 some pitches, I believe.
Yeah.
And just being able to go through a lineup that very well likely could be a team that the Dodgers face in the postseason as well, or at least they are going to be probably a playoff team. Seeing that, I think, brings a lot of confidence. Now, I think some of the big question that some Dodgers fans have is why take him out after 6 innings, 74 pitches. I think both of you and I kind of know why they took him out. Has to do with some of the innings restrictions that they're going to keep some of the younger guys on to, like a Bobby Miller, just to keep him healthy and make it so that he could be available for the postseason as well. Because with how he pitched yesterday, they could utilize an arm like that.
We've had the conversation. Would you rather have Bobby Miller or Lucas Giolito in a playoff start? Boy, man, Lucas Giolito has gone to the Angels and really has not pitched well at all for them. Dylan Cease has had a couple of really – now he's also had a couple of – one really, really good performance and one pretty good performance, one really sideways performance. But just right now, as we speak right now, Lance Lynn, you got him. Ryan Yarbrough, you got him. Then you kept Bobby Miller. Those three have outperformed any human being that you could have went and got at the trade deadline, right or wrong.
You're absolutely
to this
right.
point. That could change.
Yeah, no. And obviously the way the Dodgers trade deadline went is going to be determined by what happens in the postseason. There's no doubt about that. Mm-hmm. But from what we've seen right now, from what they've shown, there's no doubt that the Dodgers made the right decision as far as the talent that they got, as far as getting Lance Lynn, Ryan Yarbrough, and being able to keep a spot open for some of their youth, like a Bobby Miller. That has been absolutely the right call for them.
Yep. Changing gears, got a question about Wilman Diaz. I have quite a bit of video of Wilman Diaz on all my social medias. I can't remember exactly which Dodgers Daily episodes he was on. Hey, Wilman Diaz, point blank, he hasn't been good offensively until this year. He got ramped up in Rancho at the beginning of June, like June 5th. And boy, I'll tell you what, he got off to a slow start, but so far in July and August especially, it's starting to click for him. He's hitting .378 in August. He has hits this month, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He has hits in 7 games this month. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 multi-hit games this month. He's also hit 5 home runs. He has 6 RBIs. So Wilman Diaz, he seems like a guy, hey, I talk about this all the time. When you're talking about prospects, it's like 5-star versus 3 stars versus 2 stars. Not every single 5-star comes out of high school and is ready to be a 5-star player at the college level immediately. Wilman Diaz, I think, needed some refining offensively. It is clicking with him right now, especially recently. Now, that is a smaller window versus a bigger window of not nearly as much success. So we'll have to continue monitoring that. So, hey, when you look at his athletic ability, you look at how he can play defense, his versatility, absolutely he still has star potential. You never know with that hit tool. Professional baseball is so difficult. But Wilman Diaz is looking up at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't get as much of a viewing of some of those guys out in Rancho. Obviously, live a little bit far away from that. But obviously, I do pay attention to some of those guys because I'm intrigued as far as who might be coming up with some of the guys that are graduating for Great Lakes. And so I've been paying attention, and there's been a lot of chatter about Wilman Diaz, and that is specifically because he is hitting for a ton of power right now. You look at his ISO, which is a measure for power that is used. Mm-hmm. It's over 300 or 0.300, which is phenomenal. I think big league average strikeout percentage is high. So right now, what we have is a very toolsy type of hitter. If you're just talking about prospect wise, he's got a lot of power in the bat, but there also with that is some swing and miss. And so with him, he's just got to keep working with the coaches, working with hitting coach Dylan Nishatka, just continue to refine his hitting approach, his hitting ability, because with that power, man, that is something that the Dodgers like. We know how much the Dodgers like slugging. If he can just fix a little bit of some of his plate discipline issues, he could be something to look out at.
You know who he profiles like as an offensive player right now to me?
Who's that?
You got to see him quite a bit last year.
Yep.
Jose Ramos.
Yep.
Did you know that? Did you think that's where I was headed with?
Big power guy with some swing and miss issues. Yes, that is exactly kind of the mold of hitter that Jose Ramos was, which when it clicks, oh boy, does that go far. Yeah, so Wilman Diaz still got some stuff that he's got to work on, but there's a lot of tools there to work with.
So the starting shortstop at Oklahoma City is different every day. Gavin Lux is there. I'm telling you right now, this franchise is committed to Gavin Lux being the future shortstop. It is his to lose. They've done everything they can not to block that situation. So you have Gavin Lux at the major league level. The next guy below that, you have Austin Gauthier, but I think he's more of your utility type guy that can play a little bit of everywhere. Alex Freeland, I think, is the next guy. You're getting to see a lot of him right now. Now, he's struggled with injury this year. I'm just telling you, the talent for Alex Freeland is off the charts. I don't see Wilman Diaz jumping Alex Freeland. I think he's substantially behind Alex Freeland right now in the pecking order. Stats be gone because, hey, Freeland is, he's a switch hitting shortstop. Like I said, he's fought injuries, so the stats don't look great this year, but you got to look at projection. You got to look at process. I would say right now, if you're asking, will Wilman Diaz ever be a starter for the Los Angeles Dodgers? I would say there's a lot of hoops to get through because you got to get Gavin Lux out of the way. You got to get Alex Freeland out of the way. And I don't think that's going to be easy to do either.
Yeah, no, that is true. And I've had the privilege to watch Alex Freeland all this season. And yeah, no, you just look at him, the way that he plays. He is a ball player. He really is a really solid player for the Loons. You can tell that he fits right up there, up in the middle at shortstop. Just really smooth with what he's able to do. And then that swing, when it is on, it can go a long way. And it's not just swings for power too. He's got some discipline that he has in his game. He's able to get base hits, drive in some of those doubles as well. So Alex Freeland is one of those guys that a lot of Dodgers fans are going to be hearing more about, especially with some of these guys at the upper levels of the minors as they start coming to Los Angeles, as we start looking to that next wave. Alex Freeland is right there in that conversation because he's going to be he has a ton of talent. I can tell you that.
Yendrys Vargas, future star shortstop of the Dodgers, that very well possibly could be. I've seen some film on him, not a whole lot. Okay, heard another rumor that the Dodgers will use Walker Buehler as an actual starter in September. That could easily be the case. Having said that, I think if they do use him as a starter, I think they'll also use a piggyback behind him as more of a bulk inning type guy like we've seen Ryan Yarbrough do. Bring in a guy maybe in the fourth inning that throws the fourth, fifth, sixth, and maybe the seventh innings. So I think even if that rumor is true that Ela Shiva's talking about, that Buehler does get used as a starter, I think it would be most likely in a piggyback setting, not as a reliever. So how can the Dodgers use so many starters? What about Pepiot? That's how you do it. You like you did. I love the fact that they went Bobby Miller with the 100 miles an hour, Ryan Yarbrough with the 83 to 88. That was, back to back. That's a tough adjustment to make. So the way that you get all those starters incorporated is that you take the parts of the lineup that you want to match up each pitcher with, and you put, openers, and then you put piggyback guys with them, and you match it up that way.
And luckily,
that's a definite possibility.
Yeah, and luckily for the Dodgers, this is something that they utilize throughout the minor leagues. If you look at each one of their minor league teams, they don't just have 5 normal starters. They also have a couple additional guys that do act as that piggyback type starter. I know for Great Lakes right now, they kind of have their 5 main guys that start with Bruns, Choi, Hubeck, Kopp, and Robleski, even though Kopp is been pitching a little bit more out of the bullpen. But then you also have guys like Adolfo Ramirez and Jermaine Rosario, guys that come in that are like starters, but sometimes get used in that piggyback role. I think the Dodgers have that in the formula as far as their system. And even when you have a surplus of arms like this, there's too much talent to take these guys out. And especially Dodgers fans have known about some of the struggles the Dodgers bullpen has had throughout the year. Dodgers are going to use whichever arms are the hottest and whichever arms they think are going to be best utilized to help them win games in the postseason. I don't think it really matters if they are starters, relievers, piggyback starters, however you want to define that. If they think that they can get outs, they're going to utilize them.
So I think let's say you go to a divisional series if you had to. Okay, you're only going to need 3 pitchers in that series, so that those pitchers will be Urias, Kershaw. Right now, I think probably Lance Lynn, maybe a Bobby Miller. I think you would choose Lance Lynn just from the experience perspective of it. I don't think Walker Buehler would make that cut. I don't think the Dodgers will. So if you're in that type of setting, a 5-game type series, I don't think Buehler would make the cut for being a starter in that type of series. Would you?
That would be a really interesting conversation as far as trying to figure out which arms the Dodgers would want. Would they want to try to bring in a bunch of bullpen arms? Because with that, you might have to have a bullpen type game. I don't know what they would want to utilize with Buehler, or if they would want to give him a series off, just get him ready for a potential championship series.
Mhm.
Or do you think Buehler gives you the best chance? Because if Buehler gives you the best chance, you don't take any chances with division series. You put him in there.
Yep. So I don't think you're going to need 4 starters until you get the NLCS.
That very well could be true. Yeah.
Mhm.
And especially depending on if they have some piggyback guys to try to help it out and help out the bullpen, that very well could be the case.
So let's say, hey, the way the TV strings things out, you only really need 3 starters. I mean, you can use more if you want, but if you wanted to reduce it down to 3, I think you're going to have that option. Okay, and so to all of your options here, you're going to have Kershaw, Urias, Lance Lynn, Bobby Miller, Tony Gonsolin, Ryan Pepiot, Walker Buehler. That's 7 guys that you could start if you needed to for a minimum of 3 spots if you wanted to reduce it that far. So there's a million different combinations. First of all, the Dodgers could go more than 3 starters in a divisional series. They could pitch a different guy in every game. Hopefully it doesn't go the whole 5 games or whatever. So they could do it that way. Or they could reduce it down to 3, use the piggyback scenario. Or they could reduce it down to 3 and just go with their dudes and say, forget it. We're going to win the divisional series. We'll see the rest of you in the national championship series. So like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head, Austin. It's going to be a matter of who is hot at that moment and who has the best matchups. Of course, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves.
Sure.
I do think we've said this a couple times. I think it's most likely the Dodgers are going to run away with the NL West. I think that's way more likely than it is that it tightens back up, but you never know. But we probably are getting ahead of ourselves, but you kind of have to do this. And the Dodgers front office is already starting to play all these scenarios through the war room each day too.
Yeah, no, and they absolutely are looking a little bit ahead, but they're with the playoffs and with the disappointment that they've had the past couple of seasons, there's no messing around. You take whichever guys you think are going to be best with you for each round of the playoffs that you have, whether it's division round, whether things get tighter in the actual NL West chase. I don't believe that's going to be the case, but you got to keep your foot on the accelerator because this team should be hungry for a World Series title, and that should be the mentality.
No doubt about it. Good evening, Hep. Thank you so much for joining. We love it every time you come on to Dodgers Dogs. We were going to do one last week, but we kind of got tied up, so hey, that's okay. We hit one this week, and we're glad everybody's back. Kendall George numbers look really good right now. Super pumped about Kendall George.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to see what he is able to do, what he's able to bring to this Dodgers team. We talked about it, him bringing a little bit of something different to his game, a little bit something different to his approach. Right now in the complex league, he's hitting 341. He's walking 15% of the time. So you look at some of those numbers. I know not a ton of numbers right now that we have so far, but he's going to bring something different to this team. And it's going to be exciting to see what he is going to be able to do as he continues to progress through the Dodger system. Also, I should mention 8 stolen bases already.
Yeah.
Using that 80 grade speed that he has.
Yep, no doubt about it. Super pumped. Not just about his talent, but about the style. So when you mix the style of player he is offensively, plus the talent and the ability to execute, the Dodgers have players like this before that have had speed like this. The guy that you think of, right off the bat would be a Jaron Kendall type of guy that just simply, and I love Jaron, and I think he'd be the first one to admit, just couldn't quite figure out the offensive side of the game at the minor league level. So, Kendall George, excited about both aspects of both the style and the way that he's shown that he's been able to execute, at least early on in his pro career.
And especially with the way that the game seems to be moving into more of a
Yes.
speed game with some of the rule changes that we have, you're going to need to have some of that element on your team. And the Dodgers, they're going to work on trying to get the best player that they can out of Kendall George, be able to utilize the skills and talents that he does best, which is some of his speed game, which is some of his bat to ball skills. So it's going to be we'll be able to see him as he progresses through Rancho, through Great Lakes, as he goes throughout the minor league system.
Hmm.
If he's able to stick, that speed that he provides could be really valuable for Los Angeles.
No doubt about it. Hey, just a reminder, if you would, go ahead and hop on just not just this chat, but also just a regular comment on this video. Make sure and leave a regular comment. Make sure and leave a regular like on this video. That helps the algorithm, helps this video get seen after it archives, and it helps more people see this. And we can grow this community and make it an even better Dodgers community than it already is. And I say all the time, Austin, we definitely have the best baseball community out there as far as Dodgers baseball go. It is Dodgers baseball goes. It is absolutely fantastic. So like I said, go ahead and leave a like on the regular video, leave a comment, even if it's, hey, thanks for the video or whatever, and interact that way. Okay, so heard a rumor, this is from Michael, heard a comp for Yang that our Gardeeble said on the MLB Network, I think is what he's trying to say here. Baseball isn't, oh, no, he said on baseball isn't boring. The comp was Josh Beckett.
Wow. No,
Yep.
that would be, boy, would that be fun to
Yeah.
work with and be able to utilize some of the skills that he has. Just put him with the development staff that the Dodgers have with the minor leagues, being able to work with the pitching coaches and the talent is already there. It's obvious that he was going to be something that was very highly thought of there. Um, Man, if he's anywhere close to being a Josh Beckett like
Yeah.
pitcher, that pumps you up.
No doubt. No doubt. Good evening, Orlando. Thank you so much for joining. Orlando says he's really looking forward to Lux's return. He was looking promising before going down. Absolutely no doubt about it. You know, hey, there was all this talk about who's going to be the starting shortstop. There was no doubt about it. It was 100% going to be Gavin Lux's job to win. Miguel Rojas was brought in to be insurance in case Lux couldn't handle it defensively, you know, to be that guy that could fill in different spots. But the position was going to be Gavin Lux's. The Dodgers definitely miss him, but it's been next man up, but it will be fun to get him back.
It'll be incredibly fun to get him back. I know you were incredibly high on what he was going to be able to do this season with the starting shortstop role and how disappointing it was when he went down early. But that just shows you how resilient this Dodgers team is, that they've been able to bounce back from that, being able to bounce back from a whole bunch of different injuries that they've had. I know they missed Gavin Lux there at short. He will be back next season. He will be the starting shortstop for the Los Angeles Dodgers, and it will be good to have him back.
Yep. Good evening to yourself. The Damino, thank you so much for joining. We always love it when you join. Hep says having Buehler come back in spring training, letting him build back up properly is the best option. I'm on that side. You know, hey, Walker Buehler, I got a chance to see his very first AAA start in Oklahoma City. It was electric. It took your breath away. He was that good. And so I'm totally sold on Walker Buehler. I love the guy. Having said that, hey, this team has such a good vibe to it. Man, I don't think there's any reason really to take that chance of a guy not being on top of his game because he hasn't pitched that much lately. So I'm totally on that board of just, hey, let's can it. Let's start it back up in spring training. Where are you at on that?
Yeah, I totally hear you with that. I also know Walker Buehler has that determination, has
Yep.
that dog in him that he will do and fight for every chance that he can to get back out there. And you wonder if that bringing that mentality, bringing that out of him, having that hunger could be something that could be very good for the Dodgers. So that's another aspect, another way to think about it is he might be extremely determined. And who knows? Obviously, we don't get a chance to see how he's doing pitching right now, but he could be looking really good to the Dodgers. And if he's one of your better guys, if you believe he gives you the best chance, there's no reason not to pitch him.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And well, here's the thing too. If the Dodgers brass decide to put him out there in a playoff setting, he's convinced them that he's good enough to do that and he's ready to do that. And those people know a lot more about it than I do. So at that point, hey, even though I'm on the side of, hey, let's play this cautious, let's take the guys that we know are pitching well, that are hot at this moment. Let's throw those guys. If the Dodgers do choose to go with Walker Buehler, it's because he has convinced them that he is ready. And, hey, they make it. I would just have to ride with their decision at that point. I don't think I could disagree with it, from that perspective. So any concern about the lifespan of these replaced ulnar ligaments?
I don't know about that. I don't have enough information about that as far as medically to make any sort of determination. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I do work with medical statistics a little bit. I just don't know enough about that.
Yeah, I have zero, and I've talked to several different people who have had, that situation. I don't have any personally. I don't think, even if they do re-injure, we've seen several guys in the Dodgers organization, like a Trevor Bettencourt, have multiple surgeries on the same type of situation. But it's because they're trying to max out on the velo. Bettencourt's throwing a million different curveballs. So I don't think you're at any more risk than you would any other person would be after that surgery. So I don't have any concern as far as that timing out. But like you said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not, totally in the know of that. I just know some people who have had those situations. They're not concerned about it. They're not concerned about it. I'm not, so that's kind of the stance I would take as far as that go. Will Chris Taylor make the postseason roster? I would say absolutely yes. What would you say, Austin?
Yeah, I would say absolutely yes. He has a bunch of experience in the postseason. He's got some versatility to him. You can match him up with exactly what you want him to. He doesn't have to be a guy that you rely upon every single day. Yes, he's going to be a part of the postseason roster if he's healthy.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I agree about that. On behalf of the Tigers, this is from the Damino. We will take care of Eddys Leonard. He's going to be a stud for us. Man, he was – okay, and I can't remember who left the comment, but this made sense the other day. I think he was in preparation of getting Eduardo Rodriguez, right? I think he was the guy that was going to be part of the trade piece. And then when that fell through, they kind of were left going, okay, what do we do now?
Yeah, and with Eddys Leonard, obviously the Dodgers had a crunch with the 40-man roster, and so they needed to get rid of somebody, and Eddys Leonard was still a little bit away from the major league level as far as fitting in, especially to the Dodgers plan, being able to utilize him in kind of that utility type role. And so he was a victim of not enough space on the 40-man roster. And so I think he was likely going to be part of that package for Eduardo Rodriguez just because they needed to get rid of some people from the 40-man roster to make room for Eduardo Rodriguez. And so I think that would make sense for him to be a part of that. But instead, since that deal fell through, trade him to Detroit for, I believe, cash considerations. Yep. And Eddys Leonard is tearing it up for Toledo right now, which is the AAA affiliate, which actually
AAA.
Yes, AAA team. He got moved up from AA to AAA.
So did Jordan Laser, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, I saw that. No, it was funny because I was talking to both the bus drivers for the Loons, and they hadn't heard that Eddys got traded at all. And so I was telling them about that and telling them just how successful he has been. And man, they are pumped because not only do they enjoy what he was able to do, the kind of person that he was to them, but they're excited to potentially be able to see him in Detroit, which I know people in the Midland area are excited about that option as well.
Yep, no doubt about it. Michael Busch should be a lefty bench option in October. Absolutely no doubt about that. Michael Busch can absolutely rake. The only thing that I'm going to be a little bit worried about that, if you look at how Busch makes transitions from one level to the next, he's a guy that takes a minute to get comfortable. So, I mean, I don't know how good he would do in a pinch hitting type of role. I think he would give you a professional at bat. I don't know how good the numbers would look because I don't think he would be comfortable at home plate. He's the type of guy that you have to get comfortable in a role. Doesn't matter necessarily what defensive position, but he has to know he's playing offense every day in your lineup. Let him have about a month or so of at-bats, solid consistently in a row. Then you really start seeing who the real Michael Busch is. So I'm not convinced at how, as much, I love Michael Busch. How many times have I posted about him? I'm not convinced he'd be good in that role just because I don't think he'd be comfortable. I think he'd press.
Yeah, no, I think you've been perhaps the biggest advocate for
Yeah.
Michael Busch getting him
If there's a
to
bigger
get.
one, I'd like to know who they are.
I know, and this is something that you've been talking about all year long, that a lot of these rookies need runtime. They need
Yeah.
200, 300 at bats at the big league level just to get them comfortable. And I think we saw that last time when Michael Busch was called up. He didn't get quite as much consistency. You saw him struggle a little bit when he was up here. And so I think there is a little bit of concern if you were to bring him up with as successful as he has been, which he's not just successful with the actual numbers, he's successful for the league that he's in, which that's a really good hitter's environment too. And so you have to be above and beyond good to be really exceed in that level. And he's done more than that. And so I think there's a lot of excitement with him. I think if you're running out of some options, if there's an injury or two, I think he's at the front of the line to be able to fill into a role like that just because of how good he's been down there. But I think in order to get him accumulated to the big league level, I think you do have to give him some run time, which that would be my concern with bringing him up for the postseason.
Yeah. Hey, pinch hitting late in games is already one of the hardest things in the world to do for very, very, very veteran type players, right? And veteran type players who have been great hitters in the major leagues for a long time. I can only imagine how hard that would be for a rookie who still feels like they're trying to prove themselves. That would be a very difficult situation. So as weird as this sounds, I would trust Michael Busch starting every game, in the lineup, hitting every game, and telling him, hey, you are starting whatever. You're going to be in the game. You're going to be a starter and get 4 at-bats every game, no matter what. I would trust him in that scenario more than I would in a pitch hitting scenario. I think you would have more success. Does that sound weird?
It sounds a little weird. And here's something that you could potentially see.
I'm not saying I would do that. I'm saying if I chose to use Michael Busch.
Yes, and there actually might be an avenue to get him a little bit comfortable at the big league level over the last month. If the Dodgers are running away with this division, September, you have 2 open roster spots. I think Michael Busch probably fills one of those in with how good he's hitting. Why not start him every single day for a month, see how well he's hitting at the big league level, and then make that determination as far as whether you have him on the bench. More sort of giving Michael Busch the opportunity to show that he can not only hit big league pitching, but he can destroy big league pitching. And if he does that, I think you can find a spot for him in the postseason, especially if he's playing hot.
So let me get this right. The Dodgers each major league team gets 2 more spots.
I believe so. In September, I believe
28, I think, doesn't it?
Yes, I believe.
And that's not very many.
It's not many. No, not at all. And I think you have to do 1 position player, 1 pitcher, because I know there's limitation as far as how many pitchers you can have on your team. A little bit different than what's in the minor league level. I believe that's what it is. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Let's say that is the case. I don't know one way or the other. But I think it's 28, which is only 2 more spots than it normally is. That's not as many as it used to be because it used to only be 25 on the roster. So it's, people think, hey, you can just bring up 10 rookies and put, September call-ups. That's not necessarily the case anymore. So let's say it's 1 position player, 1 pitcher. It's going to be either Michael Busch or Miguel Vargas. Which one's it going to be?
Yeah, and I think you have to utilize which guy that you want to give a little bit more runtime. And I think
Pepiot's got to have the other one too, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, you got to utilize him in the other one. And I think as far as the position player one, I think it comes down to performance. And as far as who you think could be a potential option for the postseason, who do you want to get some runway? Who do you want to get some eyes on at the major league level if you want to utilize them? In case of some sort of injury that perhaps happens, you don't want something to happen late and then not be prepared for the postseason. So I think it really depends on which sort of matchup potential that you would want. Do you want a righty bat? Do you want a lefty bat? I think that could come down to it. And then the other aspect is performance. If it just comes down to performance, I don't think there's any doubt that Michael Busch has performed incredibly at the AAA level, that he would deserve it. Will they give it to him? That's a different question.
Well, here's the 2, for every argument, there's a counter argument. Okay, so if you're wanting to get eyes on either one of them to see how they can do in the postseason, well, you've already got a bunch of eyes on Miguel Vargas. I mean, he got a ton of runway. He's already proven, at least from this year, hey, he didn't handle the job. I mean, hey, I'm a prospect guy. that kills me to say. I love Miguel Vargas. There's no other way to put it. He didn't perform. He didn't perform well enough to be the starting second baseman for the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think that's a fair statement. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yes, that is.
So from that
fair.
perspective, you already know what Miguel Vargas has shown this year. So if you wanted to just get eyes on somebody, the guy you would want to get eyes on more consistently would be Michael Busch. But I think the guy that they would want to bring up because of matchups, like you said, you'd want to bring up a right-handed bat to face left-handed pitching. So, I mean, everything is 6 one way, half dozen the other. Ryan Pepiot is going to have to get on this 26/28-man roster. At some point, he took a perfect game into the 7th inning last weekend. He's been pitching fantastic. He's throwing strikes. So I think the two guys right now, if you had to ask me and pin me down, that would get the call-ups would be Ryan Pepiot and Michael Busch. That would be my guess.
Do we have any sort of update as far as injury is concerned for DeLuca? I haven't heard any sort of updates far as him.
I do, but I'm not.
You got it. You got it.
There's my Dodger dog right there. We just took her for a walk. I thought she was going to be good for this show because we took her out into the – well, there she is. We took her out in the pasture and let her run around in the tall grass, but apparently she's not happy right now. She'll stop here in a minute.
No, it is literally Dodger dogs right now.
Yeah, if not, I'll go take care of her for a second like I did last week, and we'll deal with it from that perspective. But, nothing that I'm going to go on record with. I'll put it that way.
You got it.
Okay, so, Kendall George is very, very fast. Craig, Willie Davis, 3-dog, had great speed. Brash Cat, thank you so much for joining. I've been so disappointed, confused with the Pepiot situation. What do you think the plan is for him? Well, I mean, I think let me go take care of my dog, and I'll be back in just a second. Can you talk about Pepiot for a minute?
Yeah.
Right.
No, obviously Pepiot has been performing really good since he's come back from the injury. We saw with this most recent performance, just him absolutely dominating. The question is, what role does he have on the big league roster? That is the real question, because they have a lot of different options as far as starting pitcher, especially if you have a Walker Buehler potentially coming back. And so his role is really kind of up in the question. They could kind of utilize him as a way to rest some of the arms that they have up at the big league level. Perhaps if you want to limit some of the innings, do maybe like a piggyback type role, type starter. But with them being able to have an additional guy, an additional pitcher for their roster up in September, there's going to be some sort of role that they have. They're going to be able to get some innings, give some guys some rest. Because with the way Pepiot has been pitching so far in the minor leagues, there's no doubt that he deserves an opportunity in September.
Yeah, sorry about that. And, well, the thing about Pepiot is he was going to be that role that Michael Gross played this year. He was going to have every chance, probably be the 5th starter. He was going to have the leg up on Bobby Miller and McSheehan. So he was going to get his chances this year. Mm-hmm. Then he had the oblique. They thought they caught the oblique early enough to make it not a big deal. Obviously, they didn't. He came back in his first couple of outings. He threw about 3 innings. He finally went 4 innings. Now he's turned loose. So really, right now is really the first moment where I think it's been even feasible to think about bringing him back up to the major league level. I think it's to that point right now to where he's just kind of spinning his wheels if he stays at the major league level. But again, who do you replace him with? So I think from a organizational perspective and from a Ryan Pepiot perspective, it's just been bad luck, and there's really nothing they have been able to do to this point to get him up to the major leagues.
Yeah, and I think it's been bad luck has been the injury that he's had, and they've been able to fill in some of the gaps that they've had. They're starting to see some success in the starting pitchers, which makes it a little bit difficult to try to find a role, but I think they'll be able to, especially with an additional open roster spot coming up in September, find some sort of way to utilize him.
Yeah, Miggy is signed for next year too, which I think, hey, if you have Gavin Lux as your everyday shortstop, you have Miguel Rojas as a utility guy that can kind of play anywhere and everywhere. He can give Gavin Lux a spell every now and then. I think that's the scenario they were looking for this year. I think that would be a perfect scenario for the Dodgers next year too. Good evening, Pelicans. Thank you so much for joining. Your comments are always so wonderful. Wagner, Decker, and Perez were high school shortstops in 2022. Have I seen anything on them? Honestly, I have seen zero video on them. I know Logan Wagner, I know a little bit about, not enough really to give a personal evaluation. Do you have anything on them, Austin?
I do not. I'm the same way with you. I'd like to actually be able to see some of these guys, some of the footage, before I make some sort of determination, evaluation on them. And I just haven't had the privilege to be able to see any of those guys play yet, so I don't have any comment about it.
Yeah, I will note Wagner, Decker, Cameron Decker, and Perez. I will make sure, and then the new pitcher, I can't remember what's the new pitcher's name.
From Korea. I don't know exactly how to pronounce his name too.
I'll make sure to know all about them next week. I will have those questions. I apologize that I'm not up to date on all of that. I have, between Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Great Lakes, and Rancho, that's a lot, and then it's hard to get video on all the guys at the complex. So I'll do a better job of that. I'll make sure I know more about them next week. I will have my own evaluation for them. Okay, Shiva, if next year Lux is their main shortstop, how will we use Rojas on the Dodgers? I think he'll be utility. I think he'll be the guy that'll play some third base, some second base, some shortstop. I think he'll play a little bit of everywhere. Okay, so Rojas has been great on defense. I love Rojas. He's one of my favorites. I love the intensity he brings. I love defensive first type players because, hey, if the other team doesn't score, if it's hard on them to score, all you got to do, like we saw last night, is just score enough to win. And I love the influence he has in the clubhouse, as Shiva is saying here. RBI's heating up too. Yeah. Miguel Rojas has been playing better offense lately.
Yeah, no, he has. And I think it was a little bit unfair to be able to, because the role that he had when he joined the Dodgers, when the trade, is completely different than the role that he's had this season. He's had to adjust and be the everyday starting shortstop type of guy for the Dodgers. And I don't think he was prepared for that. I don't think that's the best way to utilize the skills that he has. He's very gifted, as we've seen defensively. There's a little bit of lack on offense. It's been heating up a little bit too, but I think he would perform better. I think you put him in a better environment if you have him in that utility role, give him a little bit less frequent of at bats per se, be able to put him in the matchups that he's going to be best prepared in, instead of having him be in that everyday type role. I think that's going to be best for the Dodgers. I think that's going to be best for Miguel Rojas.
Yep. Hep says Busch will be in a Burns trade in the offseason. Shohei, Burns, Kirsch, Buehler, Bobby, Tony G, 6-man rotation. Boy, that'd be pretty good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
Yeah, and don't forget Ryan Pepiot could work his way in there as well if he pitches very well down the stretch. The Damino Austin's running the show. Let's go.
Appreciate
that. My
Damino.
own Dodger dog sat a little bit to say she wanted to be on the show. So.
If that happens, we get an additional Dodger dog or two. I'm more than happy to take over for the show a little bit, help it out.
Yeah, but hey, when you own a pit bull, okay, there's a certain protocol, and when they get pissed, then there's a protocol that you follow, and you don't deviate from it. So that's just kind of how it goes. And like I said, man, we did everything we could. We took her out to the pasture. We let her run. We let her get in the big weeds. We gave her, we did everything we could to get her ready for this show. But apparently she's looking at me right now. Apparently she's still, my little Dodger dog over here, she's eating my flip-flop as we speak. Apparently she wasn't happy with that. So she decided to be part of the show. So, hey, Craig, thank you for your comment. Do you think Julio Urias has turned the corner? Great comment. I do.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think we saw that with his most recent start, just the domination and the energy that he had on the mound, and being able to, I look at some of those peripheral numbers, the Ks and walks, being able to strike out a whole bunch, now be able to walk a whole bunch, pitch with domination, and just that energy that he has. I think we're starting to see him turn the corner. Obviously, his recent starts haven't been against the greatest of competition. We still have to see him be able to excel, being able to exceed in that, because he's going to have to go up in the postseason against some really tough competition. But I think he's starting to build that momentum. I think he's starting to find the pitcher that is in there. And especially with him coming up on his free agency, he has all the reason in the world to pitch out of his mind, not just for postseason success for the Dodgers, but personal success too.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I really do think he's turned the corner, and I look for signs. Not necessarily just results, but when you're talking about guys like that, just the confidence of the way he's letting go of the baseball has mixed right now. I'm totally convinced that Julio Urias is back. I even mentioned that in one of our shows here as of late. I think he's back. I think all signs are pointed towards him being the ace level type pitcher that the Dodgers need him to be, that he was last year. I just think the signs are all pointing that way.
Yeah, no, if you sit down, if you actually watch some of the starts, some of the games that he had, not just look at the results, I absolutely agree. He's starting to look like that ace level pitcher. You're starting to see some of those signs, and that is something that we talk about a lot. It's not just about the numbers, it's also about the signs. I know we're seeing that at the minor leagues for a guy like Maddox Bruns. He's had a lot of signs. If you just look at the overall numbers, you look at his last couple of outings, you might not think it's as good, but there's a lot of good signs that we're seeing with that. And you're seeing that at the big league level with Julio Urias too. Except with him, you're starting to see some of the results follow some of those signs too.
Great comp, because Maddox Bruns last night was terrific. I mean, that back foot slider was fantastic. The back door slider was fantastic. The velo at the top of the zone was fantastic.
Yeah.
He made a couple of mistakes. He got ambushed. He made the wrong pitch at the wrong time, and the guy took advantage of it. And it skewed the way his numbers looked. But, hey, at his level, it's more about the process. But it's one of those deals to where if he pitches like he did last night, every time he goes out, more times than not, his numbers are going to look fantastic. I think that's where we're at with Julio Urias. We saw that with Bobby Miller. Bobby Miller was pitching a lot better than say, his results would have said he was pitching for a while. Jamesoutman offensively. Jamesoutman told you back in early July that, hey, I've been swinging the bat. I've been playing good offense for 2-3 weeks now. I just haven't seen the results, but I've felt good at the plate for a while now. Sometimes the results lag behind, the way that you're actually performing at that moment. But, hey, as the marathon goes on, eventually things, they even out. So, like a Maddox Bruns, a Julio Urias, like that's happened to Jamesoutman, like it's happened to Bobby Miller, I think if they keep pitching like they are right now, you're going to start seeing those dominant results.
Yeah, no, and I think that's something that the Dodgers are really good at. I think that's something that they identified with some of the guys that they brought in. They might have been able to see some signs with a guy like a Lance Lynn who wasn't getting the results, with a guy like an Ahmed Rosario, because it's not about what you've done in the past. The past has already happened. It's about what you're going to do in the future, and especially with Dodgers looking at the future towards the postseason, it's about who's going to be successful. What sort of signs can you see that's going to help you within the postseason, because that is what is going to make or break this season for the Dodgers, is what happens there. So you're looking for some of those signs, and those signs are starting to appear for a guy like Julio Urias, which is exactly what we were looking for. We talked about during the trade deadline season getting a number one ace level pitcher, and at that point Urias wasn't pitching like that. Now he's starting to pitch like that. Yes, and now you're getting an addition that you thought you needed to add via trade at the trade deadline. If he's able to continue this success, which the signs seem to be pointing that he can be, that speaks volumes, and that's going to be a game changer for the Dodgers.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
You got it.
I think I've hung out with you enough now, Austin, to do this to you.
Yeah.
Okay, the 3 starters for Great Lakes. Obviously, hey, and by the way, it was cool to see Ronan Kopp in a different role. He pitched the 7th and the 8th the other day. I love adding that versatility, seeing what a guy has, the juice he has at the back end of a game. I thought that was cool because he only goes 3 or 4 innings, so a guy like Ronan Kopp never gets the heat and the adrenaline of the late innings of a game. So I thought that was cool that they gave them the opportunity to have that kind of adrenaline in a late inning setting. So he threw the 7th and the 8th innings a couple of days ago. I thought that was cool. Okay, but the 3 starters, Robo, who, hey, he had a great start his last time out. He's reached as high as 98 this year. Justin Robleski, Maddox Bruns, Ronan Kopp. Who makes it to the major leagues first?
I'd
have to say Kopp because of the size.
Yeah, no, that would be good. That probably is the most likely. I think with a guy like a Maddox Bruns, there's still some stuff that he can work on. You see some of those signs, but you're looking for a little bit more consistency as far as results go. I think you might be seeing some of that. With a guy like Robo, he's incredibly consistent. After
Yeah.
about the first month or so, there's nobody within this pitching staff who has been more consistent. So I think he can move up and just be a solid starter. But I think if you're looking for some of that guy with the incredibly high upside, guy that the Dodgers can utilize, it would depend on how many innings that they want to give, because I know they've been extremely cautious with Ronan Kopp. I know that's something that probably has been frustrating,
Yes.
but
For him, yeah.
that just means that the Dodgers think incredibly highly of him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because of that, I think you could very well see him up in the major league level pretty soon.
Hey, just a reminder, go ahead and leave a comment, leave a like, not just in the chat, but go to the actual comment section of this video when it's over or right now. Leave a like there. That way it goes in that algorithm of YouTube. Just a reminder to do that. Pelican says Cop. I agree with that. I really hope Maddox Bruns has two brothers or other male relatives named Smoltz and Glavin. Yeah, no doubt about it. That is the Damino. So you've seen those three lefties.
Yeah.
So which one, they're a little bit different, but which one takes your breath away the most?
Oh, I mean, I've had the privilege to be able to watch all three of them, and I think they have a little bit of something different that they are all able to bring. With Robo, you're able to see. I mean, I've just seen so much growth with him. I got to see him in Fort Wayne, I believe, for the first time, where there's a little bit of struggling, where he was still trying to find stuff. And yeah, I remember you saying, just be patient with him.
Yes.
He's going to be able to find it. And just the consistency that he's been able to pitch with, I mean, he's been incredibly reliable. Somebody that Loons can always count on to give multiple innings. He's had the most runway, the most innings to be able to pitch. Yeah. With Ronan Kopp, you've got that incredible extension. You've got that really electric stuff that he has, just that big frame, intimidating for hitters.
Yes.
And he's able to utilize a lot of that.
Do you know his highest velo of the year so far? Do you have any clue?
I don't believe, as far as the velo, I don't know exactly. I
know he's hit 97. I don't know any higher than that though.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. It's also tough too because these radars are inconsistent as far as the level around here. You don't know exactly the accuracy. I know the radar in Lansing sometimes can potentially be a little bit hot, although radar yesterday for Maddox Bruns, he was hitting 98 on the gun yesterday. At least he was touching that. So with Bruns, you have incredible stuff. The actual movement on his pitches, you see the fastball, you see the off-speed pitches that he's had. The actual talent that he has is out of this world. If he's able to avoid some of those mistake pitches, if he's able to continue to work on keeping the ball in the zone, which we've seen a little bit with some of his recent starts, I think he has one of the, if not the best stuff within the Dodgers minor league system as far as his actual stuff is concerned. So there's a lot of different things to like about all three of these left-handed pitchers.
Yeah, I think that your video has frozen up and the Dodgers are getting ready to start. I do believe we'll be going to the Loons game, Damino says, on the 2nd, weather permitting. Excited always for that. So, hey, super excited for there you go. You're back right there. The minor league games tonight. Do you know how the Loons are doing so far?
Yeah, they just dropped the game 4-3.
Okay. So, hey, it was cool. Not quite to the extent of last year. If you remember last year, the Bubba Aline, Taylor Young, Alex Freeland, at that time, Sean McClain, obviously Dalton Rushing. All those guys took Rancho by storm. But it's been cool to see Jake Gelov and Joe Vitrano with Rancho, hadn't it?
Yeah, no, that's been really cool to see them just kind of fit in and just mold into that Rancho team, being able to help them. I'm sure that they're excited to get some reinforcements, get some new bats, especially with the wear and tear that the long season has for a lot of these guys who are not used to playing this long of a season, have this much playing time. And so being able to add some bats, being able to add some fresh guys who are hungry, who just got drafted, just add a little bit of a different element is really good, especially for Rancho, who's going to be making that postseason, to have them to be able to utilize. Yeah, you can't ask for that, and especially with the success that they've had.
That was the craziest inning I've ever seen. The craziest inning to not give up a run I've ever seen last night was Sauer Lau.
Oh yeah,
I mean, the dude gave up 3 hits. The Loons threw a guy out at home plate. I mean, it was wild. I mean, it was like, how in the world did he not give up a run last night? Wasn't that nuts?
Yeah, no, that was pretty. That moved your heart a little bit if you're there. Give up the couple hits. You got the amazing throw from the outfield to nail him at home plate. Great job by Yainer to be able to stop it, make the catch, and be able to make the tag to slow some of the momentum to keep the Loons in the game. Just a crazy inning. You're not always able to give up 3 hits. Giving up 3 hits in an inning is usually not a recipe for success. Not very often. But yesterday was able to work out, and he was able to pitch that inning.
Yep. It was really cool to see Diego Cartaya throw 2 runners out. I told this story on my show this morning, though. When I was interviewing Kevin Gowdy the other day, I'm going to release his interview in the morning. Diego Cartaya actually was doing extra work with Yorbit Vivas, throwing down to second, working on his footwork, working on his transfer from glove to hand. And it was just really cool to see all the things that you got to see, all the extra work he was working on, actually working a game last night twice. So although Diego Cartaya struggling offensively, we all know that. We're not going to harp on that. It was really cool to see his extra work pay off.
Yeah, no, he puts a lot of work into what he's done, and it's caused him to be really successful up until this year. Obviously, we know of the struggles that he's had. We know that there's a big jump between high A and double A. There's still a lot of talent in him, and he's still an incredible kid with all the potential in the world. Just be patient with him.
Theron Lorenzo is big time. No doubt he should be a top 100. I don't even really look at the top 100 or top 30 list, so I don't even know really who's on them. I do in the offseason a little bit just to kind of do a show on them to give these guys even more exposure. But I don't know where Theron Lorenzo is listed. He played first base last night. This dude is awesome, man. I always talk about how he's kind of that mix between a Robinson Cano and a Juan Soto type swing. He has that setup as far as the way his swing looks. Now, I'm not comparing him to those two guys, but just the setup of his swing. I love his swing. Theron Lorenzo just has that big-time look to him, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. No, and I've been paying attention to the numbers that he has, and it's only a matter of time before he's putting on a Great Lakes Loons uniform, and I'm able to see him at the high A level, because the way that he's been performing offensively all season has just been it's been eye-popping. And yeah, no, he's really good.
You know who else looks like he's figuring it out is Madison Jeffrey. Hey,
yeah.
Matt, we're going to put a point blank. Dude hits 100 miles an hour. He has the nastiest slider of anybody I've ever seen. Just hasn't been able to throw enough strikes to get out of Rancho. 7 scoreless outings in a row. Last night was dirty, man. So, hey, I would not be surprised if you don't get a Madison Jeffrey for the postseason run for the Great Lakes Loons. And if you get him, he's going to take your breath away. Now, hopefully it's in the strike zone, because if it is, he's going to get outs.
Yeah, no, and I think that's been the big thing with him, is being able to try to keep that in the strike zone. I know that's something that he's worked on, and something that I believe you had an interview with him, or at least talked to him before the season, and something that he's worked on. Yeah, no, I'm excited to see what he's able to do if he can keep that in the strike zone. You've talked about it a lot. His stuff is electric, absolutely electric. And it's kind of that mold that the Dodgers like. They like the guys with the stuff and be able to work on some of the command, try to help them fit some of that in. And him being able to work with some of the pitching coaches they have at Great Lakes, being able to work with a guy like a David Anderson, Richard. Yeah, no, he's going to do I'm excited to see when he's going to be called up, because he's going to be called up soon, whether that's this year, whether that's next year.
Yeah, they moved him to starter for a while just to kind of give him a different look, to see if they can get him out of a rut. Moved him back to closer. He's been doing fantastic since they moved him back. Another guy I'm super pumped about, is Jake Pilarski. He's back off of the IL, so super excited to see him pitch again.
Yeah, no, I got to see him at the beginning of the season. He was the Loons closer at the beginning of the season and just overpowering, electric, dominant stuff that he showed at high A. He got moved up to double A, finally seems to be healthy again. And yeah, that's a guy to look out for too.
Man, that Rancho lineup, Simon Reed, Jake Geloff, Joe Vitrano, Rain Don Cone, Theron Lorenzo, Wilman Diaz. I'm sure I'm missing 2 or 3 guys that are ridiculously talented. That's a pretty darn fun team to watch. And hey, Peter Ubeck, have you had a chance to see him with your own eyes yet?
I have not. So he was scheduled to pitch on Friday. I was going to go to the game last Friday in Great Lakes. Fortunately, that was the night Joey Chestnut, the hot dog guy, was going to be there. I got my picture with him.
Yeah, cool.
With our poster that we have. But no, that game got rained out, and so we got pushed to Saturday's game. So I didn't get a chance to see him then. I'd have to check through the schedule as far as when he's scheduled to pitch. He might be scheduled to pitch maybe a Saturday. If he's scheduled to pitch a Saturday, if it's as long as it's not Friday, I should be able to see him with my own eyes this week.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You know who, when he was growing up, his dad was one of the assistant coaches. Larry Sheets was the head coach there. Gavin Sheets' dad, you know, the first baseman for the Chicago White Sox. Larry also played in the major leagues as well. You know who one of the other assistant coaches was?
Who's that?
Cal Ripken Jr. Yeah,
that's
so
pretty
you
good.
talk about a star-studded high school coaching staff there at Gilman there in the Baltimore area. That's it. Peter Hubeck got to grow up around greatness. As a matter of fact, that's what I named his feature that I did on him. So, hey, we've had a good crowd tonight. Any final thoughts? How's Josue de Paula? How in the world did I forget about him? My God. Josue de Paula, very good. Okay, I wanted to say this about him. I mean, he has very good bat-to-ball skills, obviously. He's going to put a lot of contact on the ball. The power hasn't necessarily shown up yet. I think where the power is going to show up first is going to be in the double category. I think he's going to pepper left center to right center, and I think the power is going to be more forever in his career. Mostly, it's going to incarnate itself in doubles, but I do think the home runs will come. But Josue de Paula.
Yeah, no, and this is the guy that seems to have some of the most inflation as far as national prospect status, because they're seeing this guy and he has the size, he has everything that you kind of look for as far as some of those really young guys as far as prospect status. And I can tell you that everybody's extremely excited about what he's going to be able to do, what he's going to be able to bring to the team, because there's a lot of people that believe in the skills that he has.
I think he's a 10 to 15 home run type of guy, probably more the closer to 15 as far as consistently at the top end. But I think he's going to hit a ton of doubles, and I think he's a guy that could hit 285 to 295 and be a good outfielder. So that's just kind of what I see out of Josue de Paula. I always compare him to Bernie Williams. That's who the great outfielder for the New York Yankees and all their great teams. That's who I see when I see Josue de Paula play. So, hey, before we get out of here, it's been a great show tonight. Final thoughts.
Yeah, no, we're getting pretty close. I don't know if first pitch has officially landed in Los Angeles for the game tonight. It's right around that time. So we're excited to see the big league club have the success that they've had. It's obviously that's what you want. You want the big league club to be as successful as possible, and they are on a roll right now. You want to keep your foot on the accelerator. You don't want to peak too early, but you also want to build this momentum and continue to play good baseball, because that's going to have some implications long term. The longer you're able to play good, the better the vibes are going to be. And I think that is something we're excited to see from the big league level. So there's a lot still to play for. There's a lot of different questions the Dodgers have to answer as far as the rosters they have. They still are in a division race. I know it appears like they're kind of running away with it, which perhaps they might. You can't assume that, though. And I think that is something that Dodgers are going to have. They're going to have that Dodgers Dawgs mentality. That mentality that they continue to fight, they continue to be hungry, because they have to be hungry for this postseason berth. Last season was for as far as the playoff concerns, as far as the team that they had in the regular season and the playoff performance, there's no way to put it. That was extremely disappointing. There's no way around that. You
No
don't
one
want
really to blame, just it was disappointing.
yeah, no. And so you don't want to repeat the performance of that. And so this team has to be hungry. And I think with the success that they have, I think that they're starting to believe that they can be a team that wins it all this season. They have to continue to play well because they got some tough competition coming up. But they're playing good baseball. There's still a lot of really good signs that we're seeing down at the farm too. Things are good for the Dodgers organization.
And it seems like the Dodgers have an answer for every type of lineup the other team could put out there. Lefty, a righty, a flipper, a hard thrower, you name it, the Dodgers have a player that can answer that question. Tulsa's in a dogfight. They're leading Frisco 3-2. Bottom of the seventh, Oklahoma City is trailing the Salt Lake Bees, which is the AAA affiliates of the Angels, 5-2. Middle of the sixth inning, but hey, they're in Salt Lake, Utah. The ball flies. Ogden, remember, used to be there.
Yep.
Tommy Lasorda got his feet wet with the Dodgers, managing there in Ogden. He used to go to Ogden every summer. He loved going to Ogden, Utah. Austin Chubb actually told that story about how when Austin Chubb coached that team managed that team in 2019, back when Ogden, the Raptors, were the rookie ball team, that Tommy Lasorda would come in and sit in the clubhouse and just act like he would know his name and just act like he was just one of the dudes. And he just absolutely loved it every time Tommy Lasorda came out. Austin Chubb, the young man and former Loons manager that the Loons, they celebrated and honored last week. Got a chance to actually communicate with Austin, congratulate him on that. He was super pumped. He said that was a super pro move by the Loons, and he was super humbled by that, so that was cool. So Tulsa in a dogfight. Great Lakes Loons lost tonight in Oklahoma City 5-2. We'll have more updates on those as we go. So the next time you will see me will be Friday morning with Austin. You're going to join me. Coach Holt won't be with me Friday morning. He's on vacation. Hey, he just retired. So him and his two brothers, Rex and Ron, they're getting out of state. They're going to go have a good time. So he will not be with me the next couple weeks. So be super pumped to be joined by Austin on Friday morning. So anyways, looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. Obviously, I hope Coach Holt enjoys the vacation that he has. The seat will be open Friday mornings for when he's able to come back, but I'm happy to fill in as needed.
Okay, very good. So the next time you see us will be Friday morning. So until then, hey, just a reminder, go ahead and leave a comment in the comments section, not just in the chat. Leave a like. Make sure and like this video. Share this video. Tell all your friends about Dodgers Dogs each Wednesday, 6 o'clock Pacific, that we have these live chats and live forums. They are super fun. So leave a comment and hit that algorithm for YouTube. Just a reminder also, we are now open for business as far as corporate sponsors go. If you know somebody who would like to sponsor Dodgers Dogs, the Dodgers Daily Show that we do 3 days a week, anything on dodgersdaily.net, anything on our Dodgers Daily social media platforms. If you know anybody that has a business or that would like to be a corporate sponsor, please send me a message, leave a comment, or you can email me at dodgersdaily73@gmail.com. That's dodgersdaily73@gmail.com. So until Friday morning, I would like to thank you for tuning in and say, go Dodgers.